She pulled away because she wanted you so deeply. It terrified her. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But this is the untold story behind why women withdraw when things start to get real. It's not always disinterest. It's often emotional overload, masked as distance. And if you don't know what you're witnessing, you'll misread her silence as rejection when it's actually a silent scream for safety. Today, I want to rip the mask off one of the most misunderstood dynamics in modern dating. Why the woman, who was once warm, affectionate, responsive, suddenly grows cold. You didn't change. You didn't mess up. You were doing everything right. And that is exactly why she backed away. Most men never see it coming. They take the change personally. She used to light up when I texted. Now, she leaves me on read. She used to lean in. Now she says she needs space. She told me I made her feel safe. Now she's nowhere to be found. You think it's over. You think she's done, but that's the wrong lens. Here's the truth. When a woman starts feeling more than she planned, she doesn't always lean in. Sometimes she retreats, not out of apathy, but out of fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of falling too hard. Fear of getting hurt again. And if you don't understand this psychological paradox, you'll overreact. You'll chase. You'll text too much. You'll demand clarity. And in doing so, you'll confirm her deepest fear. That love equals pressure. That desire equals loss of emotional freedom. Let's break it down layer by layer. The moment she realizes she's thinking about you more than she should, that your presence calms her in a way no one else can, that her guard is dropping and her logic is losing the war to emotion. That's when her survival system kicks in. It doesn't matter how healthy, kind, or consistent you are. Her nervous system isn't processing your stability. It's reacting to the emotional depth. And that's where the danger lives. You become a mirror, reflecting her vulnerability. And in that mirror, she sees herself unraveling. For a woman who's been strong for too long, or guarded for too long, that unraveling feels like a threat, not a gift. So what does she do? She pulls back. Texts get shorter. Time between responses stretches. Plans get vague. You feel the vibe shift, but there's no clear explanation. Here's what's happening underneath. The surface, she's not ghosting you. She's ghosting her own emotional exposure. You didn't do anything wrong. You just got too close to the truth, that she actually cares more than she planned to. And that's what scares her. Here's the paradox. She wants to be close. But closeness means you'll see the real her, not the curated, composed, flirty version, but the insecure, overthinking, deeply feeling woman beneath. And that woman, she doesn't trust people easily. She's been hurt. She's carried heartbreak like an invisible tattoo across her chest. And if she's not fully healed, your emotional closeness feels like a threat, not a comfort. Why? Because the closer you get, the more power you have. And in her mind, power means risk. She fears that if she gives you access to her softness, you'll destroy it. Not because you're cruel, but because every man before you did. So when you show up strong, present, emotionally available, she doesn't doubt you. She doubts what it means to need you. Let that sink in. It's not that she doesn't believe in you. She's afraid of believing in anyone. And when you stir emotions she hasn't felt in years, or ever, she backs away to see if the feelings will calm down. This isn't logic. It's survival. It's not about what she wants. It's about what her nervous system believes will protect her. And this is where most men collapse, let's say. You sense the shift. She's colder. She's quieter. She says, "I've just been busy." But something in your gut knows that's not the full story. So what do? You reach out more. You text again to check in. You ask, "Are we okay?" You think you're showing care, but what she feels is pressure. And the more pressure she feels, the more she equates your attention with emotional danger. You become the threat, not because of who you are, but because of how she interprets your energy. See, when a woman's pulling away, what she's silently asking is, "Can I lose my balance around this man and still feel safe?" When you chase, over-question, or act anxious, her answer becomes no. Because now you are no longer emotionally steady either. That's why masculine calmness is everything. When she shifts, you stay still. When she withdraws, you breathe deeper, not faster. When she stops texting, you don't react. You bleed. That doesn't mean pretending not to care. It means embodying a presence that says, I'm not here to control you. I'm not shaken by distance. I don't need to pull you close to feel valuable. And that is what makes her feel safe again. A woman in emotional chaos will not respond to logic. You can't reason her back into closeness. You can't debate her fears away. You can't fix her vulnerability with words. Her retreat isn't intellectual, it's visceral. You're dealing with limbic fire, not rational thought. She might tell herself she needs space. She might convince herself she's losing interest. But underneath it all, she's in emotional overdrive. And if you try to argue your way back into her heart, you will lose. Because the one thing that cuts through emotional fear is not persuasion, but presence. She doesn't need you to explain why you're safe. She needs to feel it in how you carry yourself when she's being difficult, when she pushes you, pulls back, acts inconsistent. She's watching you closely, not for your words, but for your emotional posture. Do you stay grounded when she storms? Do you remain calm when she acts cold? Do you keep showing up, not with need, but with clarity? That's what earns trust. That's what separates boys from men. That's what makes her want to come back. Not because you begged, but because you never flinched. Let's be blunt. Every woman who starts to care deeply about a man will at some point test his stability, not because she's playing games, not because she's cruel, but because she needs to know, can I fall apart around this man and not lose him? Will he stay calm when I'm chaotic? Can I trust him with the sides of me that don't always make sense? And no, she won't ask you those questions out loud. She asks them in energy, in silence, in withdrawal. You'll feel the shift. Most men think they failed. They chase. They plead. And she walks, not because they weren't good enough, but because they couldn't hold the storm. This test is spiritual, not strategic. She doesn't want to hurt you. She wants to see if you're as unshakable as you appeared to be in the beginning. And when you show her that you are, when her retreat doesn't make you collapse, something inside her softens. That's when she starts to trust. Not the way she trusted men before, but deeper, because now she's seen you at the edge of her emotional fire, and you didn't burn. Asterisk, every time you connect with a woman, you're not meeting her for the first time, you're meeting every man who ever broke her trust. You're meeting the boy who ghosted her when she was young, the man who lied with soft eyes and sharp promises, the silence she endured while waiting for someone who never texted back, the betrayal that came disguised as love. And you might be the healthiest man she's ever met, but her nervous system doesn't care. It scans for patterns, not proof. It listens for danger, not truth. So when you show up steady, she flinches. When you communicate openly, she tenses. When you stay consistent, she wonders when it will break. She doesn't do this because you're doing something wrong. She does it because her body is wired for survival. And survival, for a woman who's been hurt, means preemptive distance. So when she pulls away, she's not rejecting you. She's rejecting the version of love that once broke her. Some women crave connection more than anything, and fear it even more. To truly open to a man means exposing the cracks, the unhealed wounds, the nights she cried into a pillow, whispering, "I'll never trust anyone again." It means risking the very thing she promised she'd never feel again, betrayal. So even when everything is right with you, it still feels wrong to her, because her heart doesn't believe she deserves a love that doesn't hurt. And if that's the case, then your kindness, your calm, your emotional availability feel too foreign to trust. She might think, why is he being so nice? Asterisk. This has to be fake. He's too good to be true, and to soothe that discomfort, she creates distance. She builds a gap to protect herself from being seen too deeply, loved too purely, needed too intensely. You think she's avoiding you, but the truth is, she's avoiding the mirror you hold up to her. You remind her of everything she hasn't healed, and instead of leaning in, she runs. But don't chase. The only way she can return is if she chooses to face what she's been avoiding. And that happens not when you plead, but when you remain still, steady. Certain. To most men, emotional closeness feels like progress. You're bonding, you're sharing, you're finally getting somewhere. But for many women, especially the deeply intuitive and emotionally intelligent ones, closeness feels like exposure, and exposure feels like a threat. Asterisk, they get emotional, they explain themselves, they text paragraphs, they ask, "What's wrong?" They say, "Just be honest with me." And in doing so, they prove to her that they're emotionally dependent on her behavior. That kills the dynamic, because now she knows she can move you just by shifting her mood. And once she senses she has that power, she stops trusting your presence. Women don't trust men. They can emotionally unbalance, not because they want to control them, but because they want to feel safe.